but we're pressed for time, so we better steam ahead. Thank you everyone for coming. I'm excited to see everyone pretty lively today. Yesterday morning was a little somber. So, if you haven't already, we have a sign-in sheet over here. The In the Know answers from August are there if you haven't seen them and want to take a peek. We have 4 handouts. I want to make sure you have one of those, one of each of those. And I think that's it. There are refreshments in the back. Feel free to get up at any time and grab some of those. Sorry. So, we'll just get started here. We're just going to ask that if you have any questions, save them till the end so we can kind of steam through here. I want to ask, who noticed something different about the schedule send-off email this time? What did you notice?
There was a link in there to confirm that you've actually viewed the schedule.
Did you do it?
I tried to, but it didn't work for me. But I was in a rush, so it could have just been something on my end. But
Okay.
I did notice it. I did try to do it, and it just didn't go.
How many other people noticed that it was there? Well, good. That means at least a few of you are reading Stacy's email when she sends it out. let's try to make sure everybody is. She does always have very important things listed in there that are relevant for the month, so make sure you're reading that. And Jason was right. We do have a new policy that within 5 days of the schedule send-off email, we really want you guys to let us know that you have viewed and checked for errors and give us the thumbs up that you're planning on all of the shifts. So you may ask, why? Well, I will tell you that within the last couple weeks I've had at least 3 people admit to me that they don't check their schedules, which is not good. So that leads me to believe that there's probably a lot more that aren't looking at their schedules. And, you know, we do spend 3 weeks on these schedules and we have a lot going on in them. Because we allow you guys the flexibility to ask for days off here and there, it's really important that you know that we can plug you in. If you're working with an existing client and your unavailability, which you all turn in, right? Every one of you turns those unavailabilities in?
For the most part.
Okay, we're going to work on that too. But because we're doing that, you could be plugged into shifts. If you say you're available, so we need to have you looking at your schedules to make sure you're aware if you've been asked to substitute. So, additionally, Brian, what's the big deal? The big deal is that great caregivers have missed shifts altogether because of making assumptions that they knew the routine never changes. But again, that's not the case, and we absolutely cannot miss shifts. It looks very bad, it causes trouble amongst the team, chaos in the office, and we can't have it. Because of the fact that we had no way of knowing who was and who wasn't looking at their schedules, we put in this solution. It's just a very quick thing. If and when it does work, it really should only take 30 seconds to a minute to plug in your name, check a box that says, yes, I've looked at my schedule and I'm planning on these shifts. And then we have the assurance and then can provide our clients with the assurance that someone's going to be there. So, next question is, it's been asked of me, well, can't the office just call me or let me know if I'm being placed on a shift that's not in my routine? Well, during those 3 weeks, that's why we asked you to do the unavailability, so that we know when we can plug you on shifts. And just to give you a little perspective, Stacy has anywhere from 1,200 to 1,600 shifts to plan in the current month in review, while she's working on filling emergency shifts and planning new clients and building teams and everything else. So she is a busy, busy lady. If she spent 2 to 3 minutes on, let's say, 80 to 200 shifts that need substitutes each month, that would be an extra 10 hours of work. I can tell you, Stacy does not have an extra 10 hours of work to let you know. We're going to work on kind of creative solutions, but in the meantime, the easiest solution is we have to have 100% commitment to everyone looking at their schedules. So, I hope everyone's good with that. Next you should have all received 4 new Polished Caregiver series. I want to thank everyone for the positive feedback we got on the last ones. We're using these in orientation so that everyone knows right out of the gate what the expectations are for a polished caregiver here at Leaves, what we do and do not do. We added a few more based on some events that have happened and suggestions from the team leaders and such. The first one, handling medical concerns and treatment. We want to make sure you guys know the scope of your role. We're not there to make medical decisions or really do the medical treatment. So we want to make sure that we're always checking with the nurses and physicians that are working with your clients. You can assist them to do that. But even simple things like Tylenol, aspirin, cough syrup, while the intention is good, it could cause bad reactions that you might not be aware of. So always make sure you're checking with the professionals on what is needed there. Building and maintaining healthy relationships. You may recognize a lot of things in there from the June in the know, I think. We thought that was really important because as much time as you're spending with your clients, the relationships could blur if you're not diligent. Sometimes it could easily turn from a professional, therapeutic type of relationship to too intimate, and we want to make sure you know where to draw the line. Sometimes we recognize they may even try to draw you in, ask you your troubles and your burdens, but we should always push back and let them know, don't worry about me, we're here for you. I'll be fine. You shouldn't burden them or add any extra stress for them. Third shift and overnights, we want to make sure that you're aware our clients and their families really expect that we're productive those entire shifts. We need to honor the investment that they're making when we're being sent there. So looking for creative ways and quiet ways to be productive that whole time is what we would expect, unless they've expressly asked you to rest in a chair quietly. But there should be no blankets and pillows and cuddling up in comfy clothes, yoga pants, that kind of stuff. That's not a professional way to do it, and it's not perceived well. So if you get put on a third shift, please know the expectations are the same as any other shift. And advocating for home care, I'm going to breeze right past that because Brian's going to talk on that in a minute. I think one of the last things, recapping the client visits. You all know that we did some visits a while back to the clients. The reason we were doing that is to make sure that everybody knew the expectations of charting and using the client binders, daily notes, spiral notebooks, all of that. We did revamp all of those instructions, and we hope those have been helpful. If you still have questions, let us know. But the things that we found are we need new client binders. Some of those are really old logos, old information, old forms, sometimes incorrect data, outdated care plans, all of it. So we are in the process with the team leaders on making new client binder models, and we'll be replacing, as we can, we'll be replacing the old ones with the new. But what that means is we're going to need your help on making sure they stay updated and making sure that if you know the care plan's outdated, tell us what that is so we can get it updated and get you fresh copies there. If people aren't following the guidelines, let us know so we can talk to them. Sometimes that gets missed in training, so we want to make sure that we're being diligent about that stuff. And lastly, just out of curiosity, how many people were surprised, offended, or questioning why I'm wearing yoga pants today? Okay, show of hands. Thank you. I actually did this to make a point because somehow through lack of training or lack of following up on it, we were surprised to find that there were a lot of dress code violations when we went out and visited shifts. We really want to stress the importance of looking professional. You all may have looked at me and said, oh, she's underdressed. Is she going exercising? What's the deal? So we never want to give that impression to our clients, their families, facility. They need to know that we're professional and we're serious because the business of taking care of people is a serious business, and something that you need to be aware of is the generation that we serve grew up much differently. They expect prim and proper, and they might even feel disrespected if you go in there with anything less than what our dress code details. So one of the handouts that you got is a revamped dress code. It's pretty clear. It's kind of long, but it should answer any questions that you have about that. And we really just want to make sure that everyone's on board with doing that. So next up is going to be Brian.
Okay, so I was privileged to go to a conference put on by senior advocates in the spring, I think it was, entitled "Should I Stay or Should I Go?" And a lot of the clients that you guys are working with are facing this decision: should I stay or should I go? At the conference, they had a representative there from a nursing home, they had a representative there from home care, they had representatives there from placement agencies, and they were all helping think through this question. They even had two seniors, one who had made the decision to stay at home, and one who had made the decision to go into a community and live in a community. So I thought those of us who are, you guys who are in clients' homes, you're dealing with this, they're thinking it through. I want to talk with you a little bit about what they're thinking about, what they're dealing with. And ARP did a survey a number of years ago asking folks what they wanted, what were their preferences. And they explored a lot of other things besides this, but for our topic today, 90% of seniors said they would prefer to stay at home. Does that surprise any of you?
No.
How many of you are looking forward to being in a nursing home someday? Right? So in our survey right here, 100% of us would probably like to stay in our own homes and not go to a nursing home. Even if they begin to need day-to-day assistance, even if folks are already experiencing declines and they know that they need more help at home, 82% still said, I'd rather be at home and get help at home. Only 9% said they would choose to go into a nursing home. And 4% said, yeah, well, I'd go and live with my kids. So that's a pretty small percentage. So we have the opportunity to help folks in making that decision. It's a hard decision that they have to make. And I mean, you're aware of a lot of these things, but who decides? I think you're probably aware sometimes it's not the client themselves. Have any of you ever been working with a client and they've expressed to you that they really, really want to stay home, but then the kids came in and said, sorry mom, sorry dad, it's time to go, blah, 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 whatever, and away they go, they're off in a nursing home. So, you know, we recognize that it's not always the client's decision, it's not always the elder's decision. We want to try and help in whatever way we can, and so what are the factors that affect this? Part of it's knowledge, part of it's just a good understanding of what options are available. If the kids don't know what options are available, if the client doesn't know what options are available, they're going to make an uninformed decision. So we want to try and help them. We know that safety comes first, right? So oftentimes that's what it boils down to. Maybe a client becomes a two-person transfer and they just can't be home anymore, whatever it is, and they need to be somewhere. But maybe it's something just like, maybe they're not taking their medications anymore. Well, that's a safety issue, right? But maybe, instead of having to go to an assisted living or a nursing home, maybe they could have help coming in twice a day instead of once a day. And then they'd be able to still stay home. They're still safe because we're managing their medications, but they're saving money because they're not in a nursing home, they're not in an assisted living, and we're helping them stay at home. Maybe it's, you know, any number of things. There are all these different factors. Usually safety, again, is a big thing. But we don't want well, we'll get to there eventually. We just need to think about those factors that are affecting it. And oftentimes it's health, sometimes it's financial. maybe we're working with a client and then they get to a point where they just can't afford to stay in their own home. We recognize that. We're thankful that there are good homes where people can go if they can't afford to stay at home. So how should somebody choose? Obviously, there's not a simple answer to this. It's something that has to be really done in a context of all of the different interested parties, the client themselves obviously driving the conversation, being the most important person, their needs, their desires, their wants, that's what we should be considering. Obviously the family. If the family is pushing for mom or dad to go to a nursing home or assisted living, what's driving them? Are they getting calls every evening from mom and anxiety saying, I don't know, I have this issue, I have that issue? Maybe that's burning them out. Again, maybe that's one of those opportunities where we can come along and say, hey, we can help with that. We can come in for 2 hours and help you get ready for bed at night so that you're not anxious in the evening, so that you're not lonely. Maybe there's a way that they can help decide. But how should somebody choose? It should be in the context of having everybody talking. So rather than just us talking to the client and suggesting what we think might be best or expressing our fears. Let's go to the next slide. Let's see, how can we help? How can you guys help as caregivers? You're in the home, you're having a lot of dialogue, you're seeing people change, you're seeing their needs increase. I'm just going to ask you, as a standard thing, don't suggest to your clients, you really ought to think about going to a nursing home. Number one, what is it that we do here? We try and help people advocate to stay home. So let's not us be the ones proposing that to people that they should go to the facility. And it sounds funny, but I think sometimes we do that from a very good place in our hearts. We're genuinely worried. We're genuinely concerned. We see the needs in our clients, and maybe in our history or our background, that seems like the answer. I think sometimes too, as you're in a home, maybe it's easy to forget you're the only caregiver who's going in, or you're one of 1 or 2 or 3 caregivers going in. It's easy to forget, and it's a great time to tell you when you're at an education like this, look at the team that's around you. We've got 80 caregivers. It doesn't have to be all on you. Maybe we can introduce a new caregiver to the team. Maybe the client now needs assistance with paying their bills, and you're like, I struggle to pay my own bills. I can't help you with that. That's okay. We have some people who are great at that stuff, and they'll go in and help with bills or whatever needs to be assisted with. So don't automatically go to suggest that they have to go. I think the other thing with that whole safety piece that we've got to remember is and it goes to the other professional boundaries piece that Nicole was addressing. We have had 2 of these certification classes, which were awesome. We had one on dementia that some of you came to. We had one on diabetes that some of you came to. I think sometimes even we just see our clients, and as we get a little bit of knowledge, I think sometimes it's easy for us to think, I'm now responsible for this knowledge that I have. So we had the diabetes training, and maybe now we're thinking, or we're going to have some physical therapy education today, and we see that the client needs more help. We think they need to go to a nursing facility. They've got to go to an assisted living so they can get that help. Whereas again, maybe we can contact a company that does physical therapy. Maybe they're struggling with their diabetes and they're non-compliant. Again, it's important for us to remember the parameters of our responsibilities. Maybe they don't care to be compliant. Maybe their kids don't care if they're compliant. So we may want to advocate for the client and for their welfare, but at some point we also have to remember this is our professional boundary, and if the family and the client, we can't care more. Who was it that said, did we have somebody that come and do an education here that said that? I can't remember, but I remember an educator telling me once, it was at the diabetes education. Karen Quakel, who did our diabetes education, she said, I got to the point in my 17-year career where I realized I can't care more about the clients than they do. So if your client doesn't care enough about their own health, we can educate, we can help them, we can suggest physical therapy, we can help the family with whatever, but we can't care more about their health and safety than they do. So what you can do is keep us informed in the office. If you see your client having more unsteadiness, or if they're not paying their bills, or if they're, whatever it is that's triggering you to start really worrying about your client, please let us know. We want to be able to help. You need to know that our desire is to advocate for the client. We want to help those 82% who want to stay home, and if they can't stay home, or if they can't afford to stay home, or it's not safe for them to stay home, then we can help them and guide them through the process of finding a good place to go. After doing this in Grand Rapids for 20 years, I know a lot of places and people, and I will help walk them through the process of finding a good facility. If that's the best thing for them, we want to advocate for the client. If the best thing for that client is to be in a facility, then we'll help them get there. But keep us informed so we can be part of that discussion. And then again, just remembering, it's what we do. It's not just about helping the clients, it's about helping you guys as well. We want to keep you guys busy, and if you know your client needs a little more help, and you call us and we go out and assess the situation and find out, yep, we can plug ourselves in there and be a blessing to them and advocate for them and help them do what they want to do. You can call one of your teammates here and say, hey, how would you like to go and join this team and be a part of blessing their lives and hopefully help the client achieve what they want. So thank you very much. Now I'm going to introduce Janelle.